Hey, good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let's wait for a couple of more minutes to people join in. Okay, so good evening once again. I'm Sandeep. I'll be taking the Cypress, WebDriverIO, and Playwright sessions going further. Today, we'll have a Cypress demo and a quick overview of the Cypress. Am I audible? Just checking, double checking.
Yes, Sandeep.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. If at all, if I get disconnected, please try to be on the bridge. I'll be connecting through my mobile network if at all in case of the power cut or any disconnections. Okay, so let me share my screen. Yeah, can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Yes, no, maybe. Okay. Okay, let me start with a quick question. How many of you are familiar with any of the automation tools?
I am.
Okay.
Selenium, um, REST API,
Okay.
rest assured.
Okay.
Then I have heard about this Cypress.
Okay.
Yeah, Cucumber that I'm is currently being used. So yeah, all these.
Okay. Anyone else familiar with Selenium or any other automation tool? Maybe you can give quickly talk about what are you are familiar with. No one? I could see people typing in the chat. Okay. Yep. Seems like few of you are pretty comfortable with Selenium and some REST API concepts. Okay, thank you. Let me share my screen again. Okay, can anyone answer me like why we have to automate test scenarios. Before I start on the automation, is anyone here who has no testing background? No? Is anyone here without any testing automation? Sorry, without any testing experience? Yeah, I think like everyone is familiar with the testing here. Let me, okay. Someone, Udit is working on Python. Ahmad is new. So do you have any, I mean, do you guys have any experience in testing? It could be a manual or automation. Okay. Let's go back. Only data testing using pandas and data frames. Okay, Udit. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Okay, can anyone brief on like why automation is needed? Maybe quick couple of points.
The tests which are repeatable, like we have to do them again and again.
Okay. Repeated tests. Okay.
It is very much required for regression, cover regression testing, because manual testing will take a lot of time.
Okay. Okay, to save the time. Any other inputs on test automation? Why people go with the test automation? Maybe you can speak, please don't type on the chat. It will be okay. For accurate results.
Cost
Reusable.
saving.
Reusable code.
Okay, accurate results.
Cost saving.
Okay, cost saving.
Parallel execution to save time.
Okay, okay, save time. It could be with parallel execution and
you can schedule the timing testing anytime.
okay.
Report, we can generate report.
Scheduling report. Okay.
Create test data.
To create test data. Yes, I agree up to some extent. Yes. Create records. How many of you are like familiar with the CI/CD?
Just little knowledge, not deep.
I'm not just a little bit.
Okay.
In Git and Jenkins, we can up like as soon as the Git we upload our project is a build is loaded in Git, we can same time we can execute in using CI/CD in Jenkins.
Okay. Anyone aware of Git or Bitbucket pipelines or hooks? Any exposure to Bitbucket or Git hooks? No. Okay.
I have a, yeah, I did a few times, but not like confidence with that.
Okay. So, sir, did you, I mean, do you guys like integrated your test automation suite on any Bitbucket pipelines or integrated with the Git hooks?
Not in real time. Only in testing.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So these are like a few points like why we automate. Maybe if it is repeated, if the application is much stable in terms of code or a UI, The repeated test, it's a bit hectic to go with the manual, and we'll be saving a lot of time on automating it. Yeah, someone said like accurate results. We might be missing few things when we go with the manual testing. It could be a page validations or like running through end to end of the complete regression. But like in case if you automate your test, you might be getting you might be saving some time, and you'll be getting some accurate results in terms of the test. It's a cost saving, yes. Like in terms of the resources, if you have to save the resource time, the automation is a one way. Schedule builds, yep, we use a lot because I have like some experience with that where we used to have like 170, 180 test case in one particular module. And we have like 10 modules such, like, so overall it will be like around 1500 to 2000 test scenarios. And we wanted to make sure that our staging instance doesn't have, or it's not broken with the previous commits or previous deployments. We used to run a scheduled run on like early morning 1 o'clock, where you don't see much customers or like much people working on the code from any part of the world. So we used to run a scheduled triggers, which will run all your automation, and by the time you reach office, you'll be having your test results ready to assess it. And reports, yes, you will be having the reports of your execution, which can be referred in the later point of time. And creating records, mostly in case of APIs, we use it. If at all you have to create a large set of data, the APIs will be much quicker. Automating UI, I don't think people will use it to create the records, but yeah, in case of APIs, it's for sure, because that's a one quick way of recording. I mean, creating a lot of records in the instance. Okay, let's go back to the slide. What factors people consider while choosing an automation tool for a web application, or it could be a mobile, or it could be for API? Any inputs on this?
It should be easy to use.
Sir, can you please elaborate a bit?
So, for example, a lot of manual testers are not exposed to coding. So,
Okay.
like if we have a tool which requires minimum coding, so
Okay.
that would be easy to adopt and learn also.
Yep. Though it should be like not complex coding. It should be easy to code and write scripts.
And if it is open source would be great, because in open source there is a lot of communities involved.
Yes, open source, because we want to save money on licensing.
Yeah. And since there are like a lot of communities involved, so more to reliable, like on those like supporting.
Yeah. Reliable.
Type of application to test.
Yeah, type of application. Anything else?
Someone thinks a multi operating support. Yeah, great.
Yeah, multiple OS support. Yeah, multiple OS support, and should have a good community support. Yes.
Multi-language and multi-OS. Yeah.
Do we really need a multi-language? I mean, that's the question.
I mean, if some company offer like they implement their programming with the .NET, or someone's using like a Java, really supporting like for every different environment.
Yeah, good to support multiple languages, but it's not a barrier, I say, because once we choose a language to work on, we continue with that. But it's good to have a multiple language support. Yes. Anything else?
Maybe integration with other tools like Git or
Yep.
CI/CD Jenkins.
Yes, CI/CD integrations. Yeah, automatic waits or wait mechanisms. Anything else?
Inbuilt reporting, so we don't have to create extra logic for reporting.
Built-in reports. Yep. Do we consider the multiple browsers? Yeah.
I would say
in-browser
yes.
testing, yes. Yep. So how important it is like maintainability of automation code once it grows a bit big? Do you think it's
It's very important. It's important to maintain the code. Yeah.
Maintainability? And what else? So, okay, quick question. If
User.
there are few people who already have some exposure to Selenium, is it really needed to have a mobile web and together in one automation source code repo, or how people wants to go? Is it really important to go with the same source code, or like, do you really want to maintain a separate source code? Any inputs on that? Having together both mobile and web.
Yeah, it will be much easier if they are together, and for maintainability purpose, yeah, if they are separate, it's good. So they have both, like, but if they are together, it's easier for people to maintain the code.
Yep, ma'am. I mean, so it's a bit debatable, but like with my experience, like I still strongly suggest to go with a different source code repos, mobile and web, not to maintain the same in one repo, because you have a like complete set of tests for the mobile and you'll be having a different set of tests for the web. But again, it's a choice. It's a people choice. Do we really consider the execution time on choosing a tool? How much time it is taking?
Yes, that is very important. Like how fast they execute, and how
Yep,
much time they take.
execution time, or like how fast it is.
Yeah.
And is it really important to have a record and playback? Yes.
Second playback is too old now, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we can have record playback. Like, for example, if you have just one flow, you will not create framework for that, right? You can just record playback and do that data-driven testing for 100 records, 1,000 records. So it's
Okay.
good to have.
Good to have, yeah.
Okay. It's good to have, but like once you're pretty hands-on on a tool, I'm not sure like how much useful is it. So once you, I mean, yeah, it's good when you're starting with a tool, you can just record a test, update the code on the recorded script, and then you can play back. But like when you're comfortable in writing the framework and writing the scripts, I don't see much people repeatedly using that feature.
Even looking at the Selenium right now, I mean, whose company is using a record and playback now these days, right? So
Yes, but it's much important, like when someone is starting with a tool, it's good to have a record and playback. But going further, like I don't think people will be using it. Okay, so these are the most of the things that we consider while choosing a tool. Yeah, I just wanted to make it a bit interactive, so I'll be keep asking the questions instead of like I explaining the things and just instead of saying done and at the end. So what are the automation tools available in the market? Let's stick to the web and mobile. Let's not go to the DB testing and API. Automation tools,
UFT.
UFT.
Selenium.
Selenium. I thought Selenium will be first, but like someone said UFT. Okay.
QTP.
Cypress.
QTP. Okay.
No, QTP is not there. UFT is nothing but the QTP.
Yep. UFT is nothing but QTP. Any other
What,
tools?
Cypress?
Cypress.
Cypress.
Yes, Cypress.
Playwright.
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 WebDriverIO.
WDIO. Yep.
Appium.
Appium.
Appium is mobile.
Yeah, Appium is a mobile. Yes.
RFT.
RFT. Okay.
Prover.
Can you spell it, sir?
PROVAR.
VAR. Okay. I'm not familiar with, I mean, I'm hearing it for the first time. So, okay. So is it a paid version?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Protector. Yeah.
Tractor. Is it not end of the life?
Yeah, I think Protractor is it's shut down actually. There won't be
Yeah,
any new.
I think there is no new support to the protractor.
Okay.
Yep.
J JMeter.
Yeah, JMeter for the load testing. Let's keep that aside. Let's stick to the mobile and web automation tools.
Yeah, somebody were telling Puppeteer, SpecFlow, Mocha, Nightwatch,
Yes.
Test Complete, Tosca.
Nightwatch. Yes, Puppeteer. Puppeteer. Yes. Catalan Studio. Did anyone heard about it?
Yeah. Catalan
Yeah.
Studio.
Catalan Studio.
But it was just based on Selenium only, right?
Yes, Catalan Studio. Yep.
Karate is a tool or it is kind of Selenium? Like Cucumber. Karate.
Yeah, Karate is an API tool. Karate, it's I mean specific to the API automation. But like let's not write it here. We are more interested on the web and mobile automation. Okay, so how tough is to switch to another tool if you have pretty hands-on on one tool? Easy, tough, or like it takes time, or is it okay? You can start in a week or two.
No, it will take time because each framework has their own implementations.
Yep. And
Obviously, to understand the framework itself will take time. And as
yes.
well as language barriers of the language in the sense like technical language barriers. For example, if you take Cypress, it won't, it is basically in JavaScript or TypeScript. Right? So, and even Puppeteer.
Okay.
And some of the tools like, of course, Selenium has multiple language bindings, but again,
Even for programming language, like I'm coming from Python background. now everybody is asking me to learn Java, and now I'm moving to JavaScript. So it's
Okay.
difficult to catch up on the programming language because even the languages are different in some regard. Apart from that, we need to learn the tool, inbuilt libraries, and in addition to that, we need to learn the organization framework also. So it takes time.
Okay. Yep. Yes, it takes time, but if you're familiar with one language, it's not very difficult to switch to the other language or another tool. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah, but manager has time pressure also, right? We have deadline also.
Yes, yes. Considering the deadlines, you hardly get a time of a month to switch to the other tools.
With respect to language, is it a good idea to follow the same tech stack which the development team is following? For example, if they are also using JavaScript, so is it good to switch over to our automation tool also JavaScript?
It depends on the team, sir. So, like if the developers are willing to contribute to the test automation code, it's strongly preferred to have a language where the developers are comfortable with. I'm sure like in most of the companies or projects, the developers are pretty comfortable with the JavaScript than any other language, because the front end, most of the like front end development happens in the JavaScript. If you have a pressure to complete your automation or like have a good coverage of your smoke or a regression test, most of the people are saying that the developers has to contribute to the automation code, at least for the few initial days, to get a good amount of coverage in terms of the test. So that's a one thing that has to be considered while choosing the tool or a language. So if
And
the
also,
developer, yep.
and also the developer has some unit testing framework in JavaScript, can reuse the same thing in our automation script also.
Not really sure the reusability of unit testing in the web automation or a mobile automation. Those two are a completely different different ball games. So the unit testing, we never see like how the UI behaves or how the mobile app behaves, or like you can consider that like while implementing the API testing a bit, but the unit testing is a different ball game altogether.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. See, like okay, let's stick to this automation tools. Just what the next question was that like why JavaScript based automation tools are becoming popular. Any clue on that?
Yeah, because nowadays the front-end architectures have been changed now. Yeah, mostly it is all based on JavaScript, React, Next.js.
Yep, front end is like mostly JS now. Yeah. Any other input?
Is it comparatively faster or anything like that?
Yeah, exactly, sir. These are much faster. Any guesses like or anyone does anyone know like why JavaScript tools are faster compared to Java or Python in terms of execution?
I think the driver is not involved executable. So I think like that, something to do with that.
I think I learned from
Driver is
Python class
one.
that
Yep.
it's asynchronous, like a single thread, it goes faster. Something like that. I don't know.
It's the code execution is asynchronous, but like when we are writing the automation, we are make sure that things are not going asynchronous because we rely on the steps. So we make sure the one step we'll go to the next step only after the first step is completed. When you are like when you see the browser, the asynchronous takes a major role, but like not in terms of the automation.
Okay.
Any other guess?
So in Java, we are using we create an object of a existing template and then use. Whereas in JavaScript, we directly use the template itself and can play around with the function as we want.
Okay. How many of you like the know Selenium architecture? Like whoever is working on the Selenium?
Yeah, so that JSON wire protocol, I think earlier it used to be JSON wire protocol. So
Yep.
the client will go through the JSON wire protocol and interact with the driver. But now I don't know what happens.
Okay.
That now no more. I think that new.
Yeah, JSON wire protocol is like no more in Selenium.
Yeah.
So with the Selenium 4, I think no JSON wire protocol. Yep.
Yeah. Now WTC, yeah, World Consulting.
Yes. Okay. So the next slide. I'll answer the question. Maybe post this. Does anyone familiar with what are browser engines? Any inputs? I see some people answering in the chat.
I'm not, but I think browser engines, you're talking about the browser driver, something, executor, I don't know.
Okay.
It's just my guessing anyway.
Okay, sorry, I missed like a few points. The Tosca is the other one, test complete, yes, on the tools. Protractor, Nightwatch, Tosca. Okay, yeah, let's go back to the browser engines. Okay, so I am unable to play and share the screen. So anyone familiar with the browser engines? Yeah, maybe you can see the screen, and if you have any clue on this one, you can speak out.
So are these browser executable?
Not really.
I have heard Gecko by Mozilla, WebKit by Apple, something, but not details. What it means, I have no idea.
Okay, so the browser engine is a like core of the browser. If you see any browser, the browser engine takes the major role. Browser engine is something like, so if I want to explain it in the layman terms, it will understand the HTML code and it will represent it on the browser. So whatever we write the code in HTML or a CSS, so the browser engine, the only thing understands on the browser is like browser engine. So it will understand the code which is written in the HTML and it will convert the way like we see it on the browser. So maybe like if you see the HTML or CSS code that we write, it will be much beautifully displayed on the browser. That's what the browser engine do. It's a core of the browser. In any case of the browser, so the browser engine takes a major role. That's what like it converts the HTML code to the display format, whatever we see it. So there are like these are the bit famous browser engines. Like WebKit is implemented by Apple. So if you see how the Safari is implemented, it is implemented on WebKit. So if you see a Safari mobile versions, the core will be the WebKit. And Google was using the WebKit up to some extent, but after that it came up with a browser engine called Blink. Any of the Chrome engines are implemented based on the browser engines, the Blink browser. So the Chrome family is completely implemented on the Blink browser engine. And similarly, Microsoft has like two. One is the Trident, and Trident was like core of the Internet Explorer. And after that, like the Edge HTML browser engine is like for the new version of the Edge. And Gecko is by Mozilla. So why I am saying the browser engines, because if someone is familiar with the Selenium, we'll be having a different drivers for the different browsers. Does anyone know the reason? Like, why do we have a different drivers for different browsers? Anyone who has some experience with the Selenium?
Because Selenium is an interface, and each company would like to implement their own version of the interface. So I think that's why.
Or I think because of like their way of the communication of browser is different with each browsers. Whatever we communicate with the Selenium commands, that interactions is different for each browser.
Yeah, exactly, sir. So each understands, each browser understands, each browser need a different type of commands to run on it. So if you want to run your script on, say, on a Chrome, that has to be converted in a way how the Chrome understands. That's why like we have a different browser drivers for different browsers. That's the reason, because like those are implemented on a different browser engines. So any of the Chrome driver is supported by the Chrome family. Like say you can use the same Chrome driver for Chrome, Chromium, and any other Chrome family browser in case of Selenium. So the browser engines are different. That's the reason like they have a different browser drivers in case of Selenium. And going back to the previous question that I asked, I said like when we write the code in JavaScript, it will be much faster because the browser understands only JavaScript. It will not understand Java, it will not understand Python or Ruby. So the browser understands only JavaScript to execute any code on it. So that's the reason like JavaScript based tools are much faster compared to the others. Any questions on it?
Understand. Thanks.
Yep. So maybe I'm not working on Selenium these days, but like say, if you see little older versions of Selenium architecture, the JSON wire protocol used to convert all our automation code written in a different languages to the JavaScript to trigger on the browser. So the browser understands only JavaScript, it doesn't understand any other language. So that's the reason like if you write in JavaScript, it's easier to communicate with the browser. You don't need a conversion in between. Yep, let's go back to the Cypress. The Cypress is a tool that is completely based on the JavaScript, and it supports only one language, which is JavaScript. But it has a lot of advantages and it has some trade-offs in terms of the tool. I'm pretty sure like if you choose any tool, it will be having the pros and cons, the trade-offs. It all depends on like what you really need on the tool. Every automation tool supports everything, but it depends on what kind of application that you are going to automate, and which is much faster, which is much reliable, and how team is comfortable coding on the particular language. That all comes into the picture on choosing an automation tool. That's what we discussed. So these are the pros in Cypress. Cypress is like much easier to set up, and the maintainability of the automation code in Cypress in terms when you compare it to Selenium or a WebDriverIO or a Playwright, it is much easier to maintain the code. And that's one of the major aspects of automation. It has very low maintainability. Like if anything changes, you hardly changing like few lines of the code when you write in the Cypress. And does Selenium has a time travel concept? Because I'm not much familiar with Selenium. It's been a while that I stopped working in Selenium. So the time travel is like Cypress Studio has a beautiful option called as time travel. So you can, once the automation is executed, you can go to each step and see what's happened on the browser. So it's like a time travel. So you can see what time, I mean, each step, you can see the screenshot and the complete responses. I saw only this feature only in the Cypress. None of the other tools having the time travel feature. And it's much easier to debug on the Cypress Studio compared to the other tools. And the Cypress automatically takes care of waitings. So it'll wait till the page loads. You don't need to write an implicit or explicit waits in Cypress, unlike Selenium. And it's a very reliable. Like say, if you execute the same automation script 10 times, you'll be seeing the same result in terms of Selenium. In terms of Cypress. So very low chances of like false positives. So the Cypress are much reliable. That's a selling point of Cypress. And it has something called session. So when you are writing multiple tests, you don't need to, you can save the login session and you can just pass the session to the next test so that it will be saved. The login time is saved on the automation. So if you have like say 10 automation scripts to execute, you can save the login session. Once you log in, you can save that session and you can pass on that login session to the next test so that it will skip the login. So you'll be saving a lot of time on with the Cypress session. Any questions on this?
I have one question.
Yep.
So like sometimes the login is valid for a particular time frame. So can we also mention that after this particular time that you go back and go for the login again and save that session?
I'm not really sure on that, sir. So I just tried for the session which is valid for an hour. So if the session is valid much lesser, I need to check on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So what we do is like we'll be having a checkpoint on the session. Say the session is saved with the home page or like any particular validation. If the validation fails, it will go back to the login. That's what I know how it works. Say you saved a session, but when you trigger the next test with that session, if it is unable to validate the assertion that we have written for the login session, it will go back to the login. I think as you asked, if the session is much shorter, it should execute the login again. But I'll double check on that.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
Sir, I have one question. As Selenium is there, then why we need Cypress? I think easy to set up. Selenium is also is there. Time travel. So there is implicit or explicit data. I agree with this. Easy to debug also there, and reliable. Selenium also reliable. Then, sir, why actually need for Cypress? I need to know.
Okay, Cypress, like I'm saying, right? So each tool comes with a different positives and negatives. I can strictly, I can straight away say that like we have Java, why do we have to write it in Python, or like why do you need of C++? Every tool has its pros and cons.
Okay.
So before Selenium started, we had something called like QTP was very famous in the market. But when the Selenium came in, like I think QTP is almost killed now. In the similar way, like we have a lot of changes in our requirements, and the new tools are popping in the market with the requirements. So in terms of execution speed, Cypress is much faster compared to the Selenium.
Okay.
Yes, and the scripting is much easier, and the setup is much easier in Cypress.
Okay. Okay,
yep.
Sir.
Yeah, and one more thing, like to add on this point. So Selenium we need a third-party libraries a lot. Whereas in Cypress, it will come as a bundle.
Yep,
right?
Cypress, most of the things are built in, and even Cypress is built on the JavaScript, and we write it in the JavaScript. The tricky part of the JavaScript is asynchronous mode of execution, but Cypress automatically takes care of this asynchronous mode. You don't need to write async await. If you're familiar with the JavaScript, you don't need to write async await while writing the Cypress code. The Cypress automatically waits for the step to complete, even though it's asynchronous. And the other advantage with the Cypress is Cypress directly executes on the browser, unlike Selenium. That's the architecture of Cypress. Maybe if I start with the Cypress classes, I'll be explaining the architecture of the Cypress. There I'll explain in detail how the execution happens with the Cypress.
And one more thing,
One
like,
question.
Yep.
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of you.
Selenium supports multiple languages like Java, Python, Ruby, kind of
Yes.
thing. Like Cypress supports multiple languages, or stick to only JavaScript.
No, sir. Cypress doesn't support multiple languages. It supports only JavaScript or TypeScript. Yep.
Yeah. How is the industry adopting Cypress? Like, are the many customers preferring to use Cypress instead of Selenium?
I saw people moving towards the JavaScript from Java a bit and choosing the Cypress or any other Cypress JavaScript based tool depends on the project. Cypress has some trade-offs. Maybe I'll tell you like once I'm done with the trade-off in the next slide. So these are the trade-offs with the Cypress. Cypress doesn't support the multiple tabs. And you cannot control the multiple browsers in a single run. So if you are running it in the Chrome, you will be running it only on the Chrome on a single browser tab. You can't even click on the next tab. The Cypress cannot handle the next tabs. These are the trade-offs, permanent trade-offs with the Cypress. And each test is bound to a single superdomain. Does anyone know like what is a superdomain or a domain? Okay, I'll explain it. So when you're writing a automation script in a Selenium, so you can write like say driver get maybe google.com. In the next line, you can switch to the other website. Maybe if you want to travel to the Facebook, you can just driver.open, driver.get Facebook. But in case of Cypress, it doesn't support that. Each test is bound to a single domain. So if you are stick to a domain, like opening a web application, you cannot open the other URL in the same test. You can do it in the next test, but in the same test, you cannot do it. And Cypress doesn't have a mobile automation support. That's one of the trade-off. And it has limited support with the iframe. You can handle the iframes, but that not as extensively as Selenium. So it has a good support for the iframes, but not it's very limited.
Okay.
Are
Because
these trade-offs?
nowadays every customer is having both web and mobile projects, right? So then they need to maintain two different tools for their automations.
Irrespective of whether Cypress supports mobile or not, I still prefer to write a different automation repo. I still like to maintain a separate automation repo for the mobile code. Unless until you are triggering the it's not a native, unless until it's not a native application. If it is a native, you are surely go to the separate repo. Even you are handling the browser on mobile, but there are like you have to end up writing a lot of if else in case of the mobiles. So it's good to maintain a separate repo altogether for the mobile automation.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yep.
So are these trade-off only applicable to Cypress or Playwright also?
Playwright supports multiple tabs. Playwright supports mobile. And Playwright has a good support for the iframe also. But writing scripts in Cypress is much easier, and the maintainability is much better in Cypress compared to the Playwright.
And what about the single superdomain in Playwright?
Playwright supports it. It's not a trade-off in Playwright.
Okay. And like you said, in the same framework, if you want to include both the UI automation and API automation, is it advisable?
API, API and UI is advisable because if you want to create a data before your UI test runs, and if you want to fetch a data with the API, that's good to have a mobile and UI and API together in one, but not the complete API framework. But if you want to call on some APIs in between, it's good to go. Because like API execution is much faster compared to the UI. So it hardly takes like, I'm not sure.
Can you please turn mute off everyone, please?
I'm like doing that. I need to stop. Sharing. Yes, just seeing it. Yeah, can everyone mute yourself? OVA. Yeah. Okay, I'm muting that. Okay, let me share screen again. Yep. But API and UI can be in one, but like not completely. So if you want to run the API separately, I suggest like you can maintain a separate repo for the APIs, because APIs are much faster compared to the UI. So you can quickly, I mean, hardly it takes like 15 minutes is the longest run of APIs which I saw. Even if it has like 2000, 3000 tests, you can finish it up in. You can finish up the APIs. So if you need some APIs in between, you can just maintain the APIs in UI automation, but like not in one single framework. And this is what the Cypress ecosystem contains. It has a test runner, and Cypress has a cloud where you can have your report results exported, and it has a dashboard, but it's a paid version of Cypress. The Cypress test runner is really good. Maybe I'll give a quick demo in the end. And installation and yep.
Can we mute?
Yeah.
Everyone, please.
I'm just seeing. Participants. Okay. Yep. In terms of the installation or dependencies for Cypress Run, we'll be going ahead with the VS Code, which is an open source from the Microsoft, and the node is a node is a dependency for the JavaScript. You need to have a node installation on your system, and the Cypress npm is a one node package manager, Cypress. And we'll be going ahead with the JavaScript, not with the TypeScript. But if someone needs a support on the TypeScript, I'll be helping them if they want to go ahead with the TypeScript. But the course will be going with the JavaScript. And this is a question like how much coding skills you need for the Cypress automation. If you're familiar with any of the coding language, it could be Java, Python, or any other. It's much easier to pick up the JavaScript. So you don't need much JavaScript skills for writing the Cypress code, because async await and all will be automatically taken care. It needs a bit of coding skills, but not that as Java, Selenium Java requires. So if you are pretty comfortable writing few lines of code, you can start with the Cypress. But initially, I'll be taking few JavaScript classes before starting with the Cypress or Playwright. So I'll be covering whatever JavaScript needed for the Cypress automation. So even though you have manual testing background, I'll be helping out few tutorials on the JavaScript to get your hands on the JavaScript. Then I'll be starting with the Cypress. But comparatively with Selenium Java or Selenium Python, you will be needing much less coding skills to start with the Cypress. Any questions on this? You can unmute yourself and then ask. If you have any questions on the coding part.
So how much session for JavaScript?
I'll be taking like first 3 to 4 sessions on the JavaScript, explaining the basics and how to write few lines of code in JavaScript and creating some JavaScript files and calling it in the other. Something like creating the JavaScript classes and methods, modules. I'll be covering like whatever is needed for the Cypress.
And Playwright.
Playwright need little more. That's the reason like I'll not be covering the entire. That's the reason for like Playwright starting in the next. So Playwright need little more JavaScript.
Okay.
So we'll be starting with the basics of JavaScript, then Cypress. And by the time, if you're comfortable by the time you'll be getting little bit comfortable with the JavaScript and Cypress. So it's much easier to understand the Playwright next.
Okay. So Playwright will start from next month, you're saying?
Yeah, mostly end of next month.
End of next month. Okay.
Yeah, maybe
In the starting of May, you're saying? Okay.
Yeah, last week of April or maybe May.
Okay.
Last week of May. It depends like how fast we will finish Cypress. But the thing with the Cypress is like if there are like many manual testers joining, I'll be taking up a little bit slow. Make sure that they understand the JavaScript a bit.
I'm a manual tester anyway. Please, thank you.
Yep.
Yep. Me too, manual tester. So may I know how much level, means any prerequisite for this to join into this course? Like, do we have to know anything? Because I'm completely into manual functional testing. So I don't have any concept of Java or any other languages. So I'm good to go.
You really don't need any prerequisite or language. It's only thing like how much effort you will be going to put on during the sessions. So I'll be giving like few kind of like writing some automation post the session or writing bits and pieces of the code to get a glimpse of it. So if you are like good in completing those, you can directly start with the Cypress or JavaScript. It's all like how much effort you are going to put while learning the JavaScript or Cypress.
Thank you.
Okay, I got a question related to like prerequisite. How much is the front-end knowledge of like from CSS, selectors and DOM and HTML is required for that course?
I'll be covering a session on the selectors part.
Okay.
But when you work with the automation, you really don't need like DOM, CSS. It's good to understand those concepts, but like that's not a that will not be stopping you while writing the automation.
Right. Okay.
So you need how to write the selectors. So I'll be covering a session on that, writing the selectors. So.
And in terms of supports, like when we do the projects or something, like how do we approach if we are stuck somewhere during coding and something like would it be like when we meet again on the next session, or is there any other support like we can write the emails or on WhatsApp group?
We have created a WhatsApp group for this this batch. So what I'll be doing is like I'll be creating a Git repo. Okay, so I want you guys to get some hands-on on the Git. Maybe I'll be showing like whatever is needed for the Git. You should be comfortable learning the few Git commands. Each one of you can create your own branch and push your code over there. Instead of like you sharing the screen and explaining what's going on and what was the issue or where you stuck with. If you can share the Git branch that you are working on, maybe I say like you can create a branch with your name and start working on it and push your code to that Git branch. And I'll take a pull and I'll see the code. And if anything need to be fixed on it, I'll be fixing on the branch and I'll be pushing it out.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So few basics of Git is also required. Maybe that's where I'm starting with. So I'll be starting with Git first and then JavaScript. Git is like a few very basic commands of the Git. How do you check out and then how do you push the code? Only those two I'll be like covering. I'll not be covering the entire Git, but if someone really need and get stuck with, I'll ask them to share the screen and I'll be helping out them pushing their code.
Yeah,
And
that would be
regarding
helpful. Thank you.
Yep.
and regarding the timings of these classes, would it be the same that we are meeting today, or is it gonna be changed in the future?
It will not be for 2 hours for sure. It will be like 6 to 7:30
Okay.
India timings, 6 to 7:30 IST.
Okay.
So 6 p.m. to 7:30 IST every Saturday morning, Saturday and Sunday, right?
Yes, every Saturday and Sunday, 6 to 7:30 p.m.
Thank
IST.
you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And WebDriverIO, would it be covered after Playwright?
Yeah, WebDriverIO will be after Playwright.
And Playwright, how long would it take? And how many sessions?
It will again take 5 to 6 weeks, sir.
Okay.
Yep. The Cypress, I'll be a bit slow, just to make sure that people are understanding with the JavaScript and getting their hands on coding. But when we come to the Playwright, it will be little faster, not that fast, but like not as slow as the Cypress.
Is Cypress and Playwright are both different technology, or just it's dependent on each other? Like
No, those two are completely different, sir. They don't have any dependency on each other. Those two are like Playwright is an open source from the Microsoft, and Cypress is maintained by a community.
so any person who can directly learn Playwright without learning Cypress also, is it considerable?
Yeah, you can directly go ahead with the Playwright. If you're familiar with the JavaScript, you can directly go ahead with the Playwright. You don't need to learn Cypress. But so these all are like JavaScript based tool. You will be seeing a similar patterns on writing the scripts.
As I heard about in the as I heard in the software industry, like Playwright can be written with the help of TypeScript, JavaScript, as well as Java also, where Cypress.
Playwright has like multi-language support, but it all depends on the requirements. That's what I'm saying. So in the past 4 or 5 projects I worked on, I was like pushing people to take Cypress because there are people around who doesn't know much coding, and writing Cypress is much faster. It gives a good coverage. Unless until you have to work on the multiple tabs, like you need 2 drivers in your test. I still suggest to go with the Cypress.
Okay.
Because writing testing in Cypress is much faster comparatively Playwright.
So the Playwright or Cypress, which you will be covering, you will be taking the API testing part also, right?
I'll be covering the intercepting the APIs on Cypress, but API I did not think of, because API I can show the Postman and I can show a quick API framework if someone needed, but that is not planned as part of the course. API testing will be a different course, because if you keep on adding the things, it will be much longer than expected. So you can intercept the APIs in between using the Cypress or Playwright. I'll be covering only the intercepting or writing the stubs or mocks.
So can we use Cypress for API testing also?
I don't suggest. You cannot use API test API for the complete API. Cypress is not really a good tool, but you can intercept the APIs using Cypress. So when your web browser loads, you can see the API request. If you want to intercept those, you can do it with the Cypress.
So for Cypress, can it also covers the websites on the intranet? Like,
intranet also you can do it, sir. If something is on the local 70001, you can do it. It doesn't really need an internet connection. So you can deploy something on your laptop And if you can
No,
access,
what I'm asking is, so if there are some applications for the organization which are only available on their VPN through their VPN, so we can use those, right? We can use the Cypress tool for automating those applications as well, right? Like every company has a SharePoint, right? So we can use the Cypress for that as well, correct?
yes, sir. That's what I'm saying. Like, say, if you can open that web application on your browser, you can use the Cypress.
And also, will you be covering for the database validation?
Not really. Database. If you really need a database concept, I can help you on getting those, but like database is not planned to cover as part of the Cypress.
Oh, okay.
In case of UI this thing, framework, will you be using the BDD format of this thing, like Cucumber or the details?
I'll be covering the Cucumber, but not in the entire course. I'll be taking a couple of sessions on Cucumber.
But not using Cypress, you are using the Cucumber.
Yep. I cannot straight away start with the Cucumber, sir, because that will be a bit confusing for the people who are starting automation. So I'll be like helping. I mean, I want to start writing the automation code and maybe like converting it to a framework, then adding Cucumber to it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Cucumber will be kind of an add-on.
So framework we're covering all three, like Cypress, Playwright, and
Yes, I'll be covering framework for all three.
Okay.
So it will not be from day one. It will not be a framework, because if I start spending time on building a framework, I cannot cover the core concept of the Cypress. So I'll be gradually converting my code into a framework.
Yeah, okay, that is fine.
Yep. Any more questions? I see someone is like.
So in the
Yep.
I was also about to ask the same questions. Please go ahead.
Yeah, will I be covering the WebDriverIO? Yes. And then what about the depth CI/CD pipelines in the Jenkins part? CI/CD I'll be covering a bit, maybe Bitbucket pipelines. If someone need a help on the Jenkins, I can do that. But like I'll not be going in depth of it, because it all depends how much you need.
I want to learn how to build up the pipeline in CI/CD. Jenkins. So if you walk through
Building
that,
the pipeline is not tough. If you are familiar creating a pipeline, it's just a one command that will be adding to the pipeline.
Yeah.
Okay. And total duration of the course is a bit tentative now. We are planning to cover it in like 3.5 to 4 months. Let's see how it goes, because I cannot say now how much exactly it will be. Like it'll be like 3.5 to 4 months for sure. All three. The Cypress goes for almost like 1.5 months, because I'll be starting with the JavaScript and Cypress, and I'll be covering Cucumber in the end of Cypress. So this will be like covering all three. It'll go up to like maybe 6 to 7 weeks. Then I'll be starting with the Playwright. Playwright will need another 6 weeks, and then WebDriverIO. WebDriverIO, I'll try to finish it quick, because once you are hands-on on Playwright, WebDriverIO will be easier. Any more questions on it?
Which is more demand in the market, like compared to Playwright and Cypress, WebDriverIO, Amaka?
WebDriverIO has a lot of maintainability issues, but it's a completely open source as Playwright or Cypress. Cypress has some trade-off. WebDriver need a bit of coding skills. So I hear a lot on the Selenium, Cypress, and Playwright, not much on the WebDriverIO part. These three are like good in the market now.
Yeah, because whenever we see requirements from job portals, so they're asking more WebDriverIO compared to this Cypress and
Yep.
Playwright.
So it all depends on like when the automation started in the organization. So if it has started like much earlier, it's tough to convert all your scripts to Cypress or Playwright. So people like to maintain their the automation. So it all depends on the project requirement. But if you're starting new, it's good to go with Cypress or Playwright. And the recordings will be provided. Yes. Any more questions? Then I'll move on to the next slide.
Yeah, I thought I missed you somewhere. When you're talking about pushing our code into GitHub, I don't know if when you talk about pushing our code into GitHub and creating our branches, when are you checking that one?
That's what I'm saying. I'll be maintaining one branch for me. You can check out from my branch, or you can create your own branch while writing it, because I don't want to get my branch disturbed if someone is pushing the code to that. So I'll maybe kind of maintain a branch, maybe with a main or master, where I'll strictly prohibit pushing the code onto that by someone else. So you can just take a pull to your branch and rebase it and then write your code. It's easier to fix if you're facing any issues on writing the code.
Those who don't know how to push the code, who don't know how to, who are not familiar with GitHub,
yes, sir. Like, are you familiar with the Git?
I'm familiar with Git, but sometimes create branch, and I think I'm a bit familiar with it. I can push my code, but just wanted those who are not familiar with it. And
yes, sir. Like, why I am asking to maintain a separate branch for individual, because if you want to try it out on your own, writing some script, it will be easier to try it on a branch. So that's the only reason for asking you to maintain a separate branch.
Okay. Okay, cool. No problem. Thank you.
Yep. Did I answer your question?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. If no more questions, I'll move on to the next slide. Okay, so these are like the glimpse of topics that we'll be covering on the Cypress. Maybe the time travel, how it works, object locators, assertions, and implementing the page object model, and command line interfaces, handling the files, writing the custom commands, how do we intercept the APIs, API requests using the Cypress, and writing some variables and aliases, mocking stubs, mocks and stubs, and parallelization. Parallelization needs license, but we can cover the basics of parallel execution using the Cypress, and a bit on the CI/CD. It's like few parts of it. I did not write the entire syllabus of Cypress here, but we'll be covering all these for sure. And I'll come back to this. Okay, let me quickly have, let's quickly have a demo of like writing some Cypress code. So I'll create a folder called like say Cypress demo. I'll not be explaining like the setup now, because that will be the part of the first session. I'll be just like showing a quick demo of Cypress. So just giving the npm init. Okay, and npm install Cypress -n save dev. So this is how like you add the dependencies of Cypress. And let me open my Visual Studio Code. I have like package.json created with the Cypress 12.7 in it. And I have some node modules to install the dependencies. Let me open the terminal. This is the command to open Cypress. So I'll be going with the end-to-end testing, not with the component. I'll be going with JavaScript. So these all will be created on the fly. And let me start with the Chrome. I'll create a new spec. Maybe I'll have a quick login. And okay. So just wanted to try with like, there is an open source website called, okay, let's keep it. So once I close it, you can see the Cypress folder is created with the folder structure. So it will automatically create, the Cypress will create the folder structures for you with the E2E fixer support, and the node modules is a JS and orange. Yeah. So this is a open source website where we can write our script for the practice. Let me go back to my E2E. So the login script I created. So I'm changing my URL. Let me rename it with login test. And once I open it, you can see the username and password displayed here. Let me inspect it. It has some like name, username. So like the command to get an element is cy.get. And then like say, if you want to type something, you can type it here. And let me take this. So the name is username. I'll take this locator. I'm not going to explain how I am writing. It will be a, say it has a username on it. So the admin is a username. Let me copy it and paste it here. And then for the password, I'll be just getting the locator for the password. So it's a type password or like the name password. I'll go with the same. And then I need to click the login button. Inspect. Okay, it has like type submit. Okay, once I log in, maybe let me quickly write assertion. So I just wanted to verify this label.
I think at the line number 7, it should be click, not type.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you're right. No bad.
And the line number 6, the type admin 123 or this admin is fine.
Yeah. I need to change it.
Admin 123.
It should be admin 123. Log out. It's admin 123 password. Okay. Yep. Thanks. So I'm done with my first script. Let me reopen that. npx Cypress open. So I already configured the end-to-end Chrome. It will show the login script, which is changed like few. This is a Cypress Studio, by the way. This is called the Cypress Studio. And when I run it, maybe. Yeah. So this is what called the time travel in terms of Cypress. So you can see at every step how the web page was looking like. So the moment after the visit, this is a web page, and when you type the admin, so this is how the page looking like after completing the command. So after you type like admin123, you can see like the password is typed, and then once it's clicked, it will be opening the login page, and we wrote a assertion here. So this is what called the time travel in Cypress. So when you are writing or implementing the script, you can see how it behaves. Say let me like say, if I say I gave a wrong password, okay, so if I want to go back and see, like it automatically just look for the changes, we can stop it, and so I entered invalid credentials, and if I want to change it back to the right ones, I'm just changed it. So I did not handle the automatic file reading. So now it's changed back, and it picked up the right password and then executing. So I'm done with my first script, and let me quickly show how the dashboard looks like. So Cypress dashboard, let me stop it here. Any questions on the script? I could see someone typing it. No.
Actually, we can when we're doing the assertion here,
Sorry?
Like you are in the line number 9, you have given cy.contains with should. So it is an assertion that you have added, no?
Yes, sir. This is an assertion.
So what type of assertion from which library it is coming?
It comes from with the Mocha.
Okay.
Yep. By default, Cypress uses the Mocha assertions libraries.
Mocha and as well as Chai, right?
Chai it uses, but the assertion libraries are from Mocha, I think. Mocha and Chai, yes.
And one more question. So you used contains. So it tried to find that text all over the page, like times at work.
Yes.
So we are not finding it out at a particular location or a particular section.
We can write that, sir. So similarly, like you can write an element, something like username and password. And so this is like the first part of the command. So like these are like two parts of the command. This is called like chaining in the Cypress. So you get an element first and then do some action. Okay, similarly, you are getting an element, doing some action on it. And similarly, like you are getting an element that contains times at work. It could be any part of the page. If you want to write specific to a particular location, you can write that.
Okay, all right.
Yep. For Cypress, okay.
One question. So in the test runner, we can see those XHR requests. So what are those things?
Sorry?
So in the test runner, actually, when you execute this script, so we can see actually XHR request also after typing username, password. In between, actually, we can see our load page, so API load. So we can see XHR request, all those things.
So these are the same XHR requests that you see it on the browser side. So on the browser, like if you go to the developer mode, you'll be seeing some XHR request. So the same XHR request, you'll be seeing it on the Cypress Studio also. You can see like XHR here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be seeing the same XHR request on the Cypress Studio.
So if I want to grab the values of these, so that is possible.
I never tried that, but like you can intercept a request. Like if the browser has any API request, you can intercept and get the data of it.
Okay.
You can intercept any of the API request and grab the data. I did not try all, but like we are good to intercept any of the API request.
Okay.
Yep. That's what I said. Like if it's the same origin, the request is coming from the same origin. But like say, you can see like when a web page loads, you will be seeing a lot of requests which are from the multiple origins. So whatever come from the same domain, you can intercept those requests. So for a Cypress cloud, yep, let me create a new project. Project name, wait to automation Cypress. Yeah, it has a project ID. Let me copy this to the config. I'll tell you like why I'm copying this. Project ID. And say if you want to configure the base URL, this is the place. Like Cypress config is the place where you can configure your base URL. Let me pull it down. And I have a command. So when the Cypress dashboard, it has like two components of it. One is like the project ID. Second one is the like record key. So I have my first script ready. I'll explain like what is the dashboard. Let me copy it and then paste.
Just one question. If this
Yes.
dashboard feature is free or a paid one?
Up to 500 runs in a month, it's free. If you are using beyond that, you have to go with the paid version. Like if you are using the dashboard in an organization, we go with paid version because obviously there will be more than
Right.
500 runs. So
Yeah,
you
so
can
for
see that
personal
like,
use.
yeah,
So
for a
for
personal
personal
use,
use.
you can use a free version. So you
Okay.
can see that a video is recorded with the execution when I'm running in the CLI mode. And the same thing will be pushed to the dashboard. So you can see like, so you can integrate with the Git commit. So you can run it for every commit that you are doing on the Git. And it has a data of like all your previous runs. And it will also have a like lot of options. You can identify the flaky test and then what spec file it is running, and you can group the test and you can choose the browsers. You can filter all your tests based on this. And this is the one like, so it was like, you can see the last one happened with the Electron browser. So I executed through CLI. So it will go with the headless and choose the Electron browser to run it. And this was my test. And I can see the output is pushed to the Cypress dashboard automatically. So this, yep. Your results will be pushed automatically to the dashboard. And you can also have the videos of your execution. If at all, when you are running it on the CI/CD pipelines, this is how it helps you to debug. So all your execution videos will be pushed to the Cypress dashboard. And if you see any failures, you can refer your Cypress dashboard for debugging. Any questions here? And if I want to like shorten my command, if I don't like to, I mean, this is a like simple JavaScript handling, like so package.json. In a test, I can just, if I don't want to include that in every script that I run, so I can just like add a command in the JavaScript package.json, and you can now run it with the npm test. So the npm test will do the same now. So, I mean, you can write like, if you are having the multiple modules, you can just create your scripts here to run a particular set of scenarios, and you can just run using the npm commands. I will obviously do the same thing that we have done with the previous command. And this is the Cypress plugins that are being supported. So you have like Cucumber plugin that supports Cypress, and you have a ESLint processor, like rollup, ES, Cypress White. It has a Docker support as well, and it supports the Circle CI, and it supports the GitHub Actions, Chrome Recorder. So basically, the support Cypress official website has a list of plugins that are being supported using Cypress. I did not use much of it other than Cucumber. But if someone, I mean, we can explore few of these.
What is Webpack, the first one?
I did not use it, sir. It's like maybe bundling this spec files. Maybe I'm not really sure. And that is like the list of plugins that we have with the Cypress. And this is how like the course goes. We'll be covering a bit of Git basics and make sure that everyone creates their own branch. And then we'll be covering JavaScript, whatever is required for the Cypress, then Cypress and Cucumber. Once we are done with the Cypress, maybe a couple of examples on the Cucumber. Then we'll go to the Playwright, and in the end, we'll be covering the WebDriverIO. I'll stop sharing. Maybe if you have any questions, you can ask. We still have 30 minutes.
So Sandeep, for Cypress and JavaScript, just we need to install .NET framework, or we can continue work on the like IDE.
Sir, you need a node to be installed on your machine. Node.js.
Okay.
I'll share the list of prerequisites for Cypress setup.
Okay.
You should have a Node.js on your machine.
Okay.
That's one prerequisite, and then how to download the VS Code.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes, in Selenium, we use TestNG as a testing framework, right, in order to enhance.
Can you speak a bit louder? You're not clear, sir.
Yeah, so in Selenium, we use TestNG. Right,
TestNG, yes.
Yeah, so do you use something like that here, or is it inbuilt?
You have an option to group your tests in Cypress, which is a built-in feature. You don't need to depend on the third-party library. You can do a grouping.
Okay, understood. Thanks.
I think that's what the TestNG will do, right?
Yeah, it structures and groups. Yep.
Sandeep, we know the timings of the course. When will this happen? Yeah.
It will be starting from the next week. It will be starting from the next week, next Saturday. Yep. So the JavaScript will be starting from the next Saturday. The same timings, whatever I conveyed, it will be 6 to 7:30 p.m. IST. Yep. I think Rahul will be sharing the another email on the course starting details, but we plan to start it from the next week.
So it is evening time, like, right? IST 6 to 7:30 p.m. That's
yeah, IST 6 to 7:30 p.m. Yes.
Okay.
Saturday, Sunday.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Thanks.
Yep.
Please, may I know when the recording will be shared?
Recordings will be shared, I think. Yes, we'll be sharing the recordings.
Okay, the same day or the following day?
Yeah, recordings will be shared. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And in 2 to 3 days, I'll be like sharing a document with the list steps to how to set up the VS Code and then install the Node.js. Maybe that will be much easier when we are starting with the JavaScript. I'll be sharing the document details in the WhatsApp group. Maybe you can check with Rahul if you're not part of the WhatsApp group.
And Sandeep, when you get a chance, like walk through the Git branch, like how we're gonna push from here to you, and then you can look at it. We don't want to mess up, your other
Yeah,
code. So
I'll be doing that first, sir. Like I'll be just once we are done with the like VS Code node, and maybe I'll give a quick guide to set up your Git.
thanks.
Maybe you create your own Git account, so you can share it with me. I'll be adding everyone to that project which I'm going to create.
I thought I missed you when you said there's a WhatsApp group or so.
Yeah, there is a WhatsApp group which Rahul created.
I'm
Maybe
not there yet.
I'll just share me your number. Maybe I'll
Okay.
ask Rahul to add it to the group.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Yeah, maybe if we don't have any questions, thanks for your time. Okay. I mean, people who wants me to add it to the WhatsApp group, please share your numbers. Maybe I'll keep adding those. Okay. I saw like 3 people shared the number. Let me see if I can share an invite right away. Yep. I think I'll share the number with Rahul. He'll be adding you guys to the group. Yeah. Any more questions? I'll be sharing my number. So if I miss out anyone, feel free to ping me. I'll be adding you guys to the group. There's a lot. If no more questions, then we can wind it up for the day. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sandeep. Thanks.
Yep. Just wait, I'm sharing my number. Yep, I just shared my number. So maybe if I missed out anyone to add to the WhatsApp group, please ping me.
Which of the number is that? I'm not sure I've seen it.
The last one. Okay, let me reshare. Yep. Yeah, thanks everyone for your time. Have a good weekend. Bye.